a freak cannon shot ricocheted off a tree and disemboweled him.
Oh my god! What the heck? How does that happen? Freak cannon shot? What? Alright, Napoleonic Wars Battle for Germany, 1813. What a career Napoleon has ruined, having so much gained glory. He could have bestowed peace on Europe, but he has not done so. Alexander the Great, you are a menace. You are a villain. You knew what Napoleon was gonna do, bro. You are so wrong for that.
1812 had been a disastrous year for Napoleon. His invasion of Russia had led to the almost total destruction of an army of 500,000 men.
Almost total destruction? No, it was annihilated. That was pure annihilation. I think I said that in my last reaction.
Now Poland and Germany were wide open to Russian attack. Some advised Emperor Alexander that this was the time to make a favorable peace with Napoleon. Russia's own armies had been mauled and Western Russia devastated.
Yo, let me talk about this, right? Because I have some people in my comments in my last video, they were actually explaining, and I was actually thinking this myself, but they were explaining how like Russia did not come out of this unscathed, right? And it would make sense, right? Because at the back of my head, I was thinking to myself, you know, Napoleon is suffering all this, but there's no way that the Russians aren't suffering from this as well. Like, there's no way. Like, I think Epic History said Russia lost like what 100,000 men. The point is, Russia really lost a lot of men. Napoleon gave Russia a run for its money. Funny enough, it was honestly the Russian weather. It wasn't even the Russian army, just the Russian weather.
But Alexander was determined to see Napoleon.
When I say the Russian weather, I mean it was the Russian weather that defeated Napoleon.
Defeated for good, to free Europe from his clutches and avenge Moscow's destruction by taking Paris. Napoleon's allies were deserting him. Prussian troops had already agreed a truce with the Russians. Schwarzenberg's corps marched back to Austria, which assumed a policy of watchful neutrality. Napoleon had left Marshal Murat in charge of the remnants of the army, but he left for the Kingdom of Naples, hoping to cut a deal with the Allies that would let him keep his throne. He was replaced by Napoleon's stepson Eugene, who'd proved himself a brave and able
Napoleon had a stepson? This is the first time I've heard of that.
Soldier in Russia, but was unused to independent command, and now faced odds of 4-1. As Russian forces advanced through Poland, he continued to retreat west, leaving garrisons to hold strategic fortresses, most of which were soon besieged. On the 7th of February, Russian troops entered Warsaw unopposed. Napoleon's Polish client state, the Duchy of Warsaw, effectively ceased to exist.
You know, can I get a rip in chat for Poland? A rip in chat for Poland, dude. All those Polish people who fought, bro. Who literally fought just to get independent Poland. All of that gone. Blink of an eye.
3 weeks later, Russian troops entered Berlin, while Sweden joined the Allies. Sweden was ruled by Napoleon's former Marshal Bernadotte, now officially known as Crown Prince Karl Johan. Many would accuse him of betraying Napoleon, but he'd always been clear that once he became Sweden's Crown Prince, he'd pursue Swedish interests, which is what he now claimed to do. In exchange for
Bernadotte, wasn't Bernadotte kind of a garbage marshal anyways? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Norway, to be taken from France's ally Denmark, and £1 million from Britain, Bernadotte agreed to join what was now the 6th coalition against France since the Revolution, with an army of 30,000 troops. 10 days later, King Frederick William of Prussia declared war on France. It followed weeks of indecision. The king was widely seen as a weak character and terrified of Napoleon. But with guarantees of Russian military support, the return of lost territory, and enormous financial and material aid from Britain, he agreed to field an army of 80,000 men.
Where's Britain getting that money from, right? This is 1813. Where's Britain getting that money from? Well, they're getting it from the sugar colonies in the Caribbean. From our islands.
On the 17th of March, he issued a proclamation to the people of Prussia and Germany. "An mein Volk," to my people, summoning them to fight for Prussia and Germany's honor, in what would soon be known as the German War of Liberation. The Prussian army had been greatly reformed since its humiliating defeat to Napoleon in 1806. A military commission headed by General von Scharnhorst had sacked nearly 200 old generals and abolished flogging, expanded recruitment and introduced exams for officers, and overhauled training, tactics and drill. When Napoleon met the new Prussian army in battle 2 months later, he remarked, "These animals have learned something."
Said animals? No. It said these. No, the way how that quote was said, these animals have learned.
Small consolation, they'd learned most of it from him.
Oh, they learned it from him? Oh, that's even worse. Only a short time ago, I was conqueror of the world, commanding the largest and finest army of modern times. That's all gone now.
As his enemies massed in Germany, Napoleon was in Paris, working tirelessly to build a new army with which to face them.
Now, guess what? Okay? You have Spain in the south. Imagine if Napoleon did not invade Spain. Now, you could say that I'm using a bit of hindsight, but I actually talked about this in my Peninsular War video, that you don't really need a hindsight to look at this and realize I was dumb. I mean, like, imagine if Napoleon did not have Spain, right, to deal with, right? He would have tons of veterans to deal with. His lines wouldn't be so overstretched, and he would just have one single concentrated front. Because at this point, Napoleon's fighting a two-front war, which should have never happened. That was just one of those situations where it's like, this should have never happened, but whatever.
137,000 new conscripts joined the army. Laws passed to call up 100,000 more, while 40,000 veterans from the army in Spain, 16,000 Marines, and 80,000 men of the National Guard, a home defense force, were transferred to Germany. The new conscripts were nicknamed Marie-Louises, after Napoleon's young wife, who passed the new conscription laws in his absence. They were young and raw. 2/3 were teenagers, and there was
teenagers. Oh, Mr. Schmittler of Germany. Oh my gosh, it reminds me of how Mr. Schmittler using freaking teenage kids when Germany was on the brink of losing. Wow, Mr. Schmittler, you took inspiration from Napoleon.
was a severe lack of experienced officers and NCOs. In short, the countless irreplaceable veterans now lying beneath Russian soil.
Ay, bro.
There was also a critical shortage of cavalry, a crisis mocked by British satirists. It would take Napoleon longer to replace the many thousands of horses and trained horsemen who'd perished in Russia. When Napoleon left Paris for Germany in mid-April, the French situation was precarious. Eugene had been forced back behind the river Elbe to the fortified city of Magdeburg.
I was surprised the German state didn't switch on Napoleon. Why didn't the German states not switch? The only German state that switched was Prussia, interestingly enough.
Dresden, the capital of Saxony, had fallen to the Prussians. The Duchy of Mecklenburg-Schwerin became the first German state to defect from Napoleon's Confederation of the Rhine.
Oh, never mind.
Russian Cossacks raided as far as Hamburg, inspiring local revolts against French occupying forces. Meanwhile, Austria stood on the sidelines, so far declining to back either side.
Interesting. Interesting, Austria. What were you? I think Austria had a bit of PTSD. Austria was probably thinking, wait a minute. I know how Napoleon is. Let me just wait and see what happens. Because Napoleon is that type of dude who could pull off like freaking the impossible.
Napoleon's miraculous feat of organization meant he now had more than 200,000 troops in Germany. And the Emperor's personal magnetism was undimmed. The morale of his army was high. The Russians, on the other hand, lost their iconic commander, Field Marshal Kutuzov, to pneumonia on the 28th of April.
Oh!
His role was taken over by General Wittgenstein. Russian troops were exhausted and far from home, their army weakened by the need to contain French garrisons across Poland and Germany. Prussia and Sweden had yet to fully mobilize their strength, and Allied forces barely mustered 100,000 men. They were now heavily outnumbered by Napoleon, and the French Emperor decided to strike quickly. He ordered Marshal Davout to Hamburg with 35,000 men to secure his northern flank. He would march against the Russian and Prussian forces converging on Leipzig to force a decisive battle.
Napoleon, you and these decisive battles, bro, you really need to calm down, bro. That's kind of a bad... I said this before in my other reaction. This is like how the Japanese Navy was trying to find a decisive battle to destroy the US Navy, and that was a horrible doctrine to follow. I mean, also, what are these Polish troops here? What is that?
Victory would make Austria think twice about joining the Allies, allow him to rescue the 90,000 men trapped in garrisons across Germany and Poland, and re-establish his dominance over Europe.
90,000? What? If the art of war was only the art of not taking risks, glory would have belonged to the mediocrities. We need a full triumph. Yeah, you need a full triumph.
As Napoleon advanced on Leipzig, the Allies faced a predicament. To risk battle against Napoleon's larger army, or give up Germany without a fight, a potentially devastating blow to Allied morale and any chance of winning Austria over to their cause. Allied headquarters made the bold decision to attack. They knew most of Napoleon's army was made up of raw conscripts, that their own troops were better trained and had a great superiority in cavalry and artillery.
Let them cook.
The Allies agreed that as Napoleon crossed the Saale River, they would hit his right flank before he could concentrate the full mass of his forces. The two armies were on a collision course, but Napoleon's shortage of cavalry meant he lacked information about Allied movement.
Building your armaments.
On the 1st of May, Marshal Bessières, commanding the cavalry in Murat's...
I forgot about this guy. Marshal Bessières, holy crap. I completely forgot about this guy.
...was carrying out reconnaissance himself when he was hit by a cannonball and killed instantly.
I swear! It's like they're purposely aiming. It's like, yo, look at that guy over there, hold up, look at his uniform, I think that guy has to be top general or something. They purposely like pinpoint these guys. from the mix. And like, how many marshals and generals have you heard died from cannonballs, bro? Oh my gosh, bro. This is purposeful. They purposely look for these people and make sure that they get hit from these cannonballs.
Bessieres was the second of Napoleon's marshals to be killed in action, and like Lannes, an old comrade and trusted friend. The Allies were able to surprise Napoleon, falling on Marshal Ney's Third Corps near Lutzen. Ney's troops had to cling on in the face of a Russian and Prussian onslaught, while Napoleon rapidly redirected his other corps to fall on the enemy's flanks. At one stage, Napoleon had to personally help rally routing troops as they broke in the face of determined Prussian assaults. But on the whole, his young conscripts fought with courage. And despite hours of savage fighting, Wittgenstein could not exploit his early advantage. As French reinforcements arrived, the battle turned against him.
All right. This is really getting heated. We have 15 minutes left, so I'm pretty sure this isn't even the heated part. But this is. I can feel the tension heating up already.
The Allies were forced to break off the engagement, though they'd inflicted around 22,000 casualties, losing just half as many men. General von Scharnhorst, mortally wounded, was among them. Crucially, Napoleon's lack of cavalry meant he was unable to pursue the enemy, who retreated in good order. Expecting the Prussians to fall back on Berlin, Napoleon sent Marshal Ney in pursuit, while he continued east. But the Allied army stayed together, withdrawing to a defensive position at Bautzen, deliberately close to the Austrian border, hoping to entice Schwarzenberg to intervene, and daring Napoleon to violate Austrian neutrality.
Oh, that's so wrong. Oh my gosh, the Allies are... This is so evil. This is so evil, bro.
Neither happened. Instead, Napoleon ordered Ney to swing south to fall on the Allies' northern flank, while he launched a frontal assault to pin them in place.
Smart.
The battle lasted two days as French infantry struggled forward against the Prussian and Russian lines. But a misunderstanding over Ney's orders caused a delay that allowed the Allies to narrowly escape Napoleon's trap.
Oh my god, another situation where the Allies should have been defeated. No way! No. Oh my gosh, that's actually so sad.
Once more, the Allies fought with great determination and inflicted many more losses than they suffered.
I don't like these casualties that the French are taking. So far, the French have taken almost 50,000 casualties. I mean, the Allies so far have taken around 20,000 casualties. I don't like that. I mean, the Allies have less troops, but this is... don't like the ratio of that. I don't like the ratio of that.
There were more casualties during the pursuit, including the next day General Duroc, Grand Marshal of the Palace, responsible for Napoleon's personal arrangements, and his closest surviving friend. Riding with Napoleon's staff, a freak cannon shot ricocheted off a tree and disemboweled him.
Oh my god! What the heck? How does that happen? Freak cannon shot? What? What is with these cannons and blowing people? Nah, bro. Every high-ranking official gangster until a freaking cannonball comes.
His slow, painful death deeply upset Napoleon.
Honestly, bro, if that was me, I would just tell somebody, take a gun and shoot me in my head and get that over with. I would not die a slow and painful death.
The emperor continued his pursuit to Breslau, once again hindered by his lack of experienced cavalry, while Oudinot was sent north to take Berlin, but was held at Luckau
Wake off.
by von Bülow's Prussian corps. On the 2nd of June, with both sides strained to breaking point, neutral Austria proposed a ceasefire, which, to the surprise of many, Napoleon accepted.
Napoleon accepted? Napoleon, you accepted?
To Russia. In June,
Balance of power, balance of power. I've heard this so much. Like, I swear, early modern European history could just be well summarized as the balance of power must stay, the balance of power must stay. I think that's why, like for a while, like Europeans preferred to just have a Germany like into small states, because as horrible as that looked, it did keep a nice balance of power.
Soon he travelled to Dresden to ask Napoleon to make concessions, while promising the Allies that if he did not, Austria would join them. But Napoleon dismissed Metternich's terms out of hand. He would not return the Illyrian provinces to Austria, agree to the repartition of Poland, or the breakup of the Confederation of the Rhine. All were out of the question.
Yeah, look, Austria, look, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not using hindsight, because Napoleon still could have won, right? Napoleon still could have won here. I've had some people told me that, but I can understand if you just demanded the Illyrian provinces. Sure, I get that, but everything else, yeah, that was kind of unreasonable, honestly.
Napoleon famously threw his hat to the ground in fury. Peace and war lie in your Majesty's hands, Metternich is said to have warned him. Today you can still make peace. Tomorrow it may be too late. But Napoleon preferred war to what he called a humiliating peace.
I don't know, Napoleon, is that really a humiliating peace? I expect a defeat whenever the emperor attacks in person, and attack and his defeat. Okay.
12th of August 1813, Austria joined the Sixth Coalition and declared war on France.
Oh boy.
The Allies now had a numerical advantage of 3-2.
Oh boy.
And a new strategy, the Trachenberg Plan. Recognizing Napoleon's genius, the Allies would avoid battle with the Emperor and instead target his marshals, threaten his flanks, and wear down French forces, until it was time to close in for the kill. Over the next few months, the coalition would also receive massive material support from Britain, including £8 million in silver and gold coin, 200 cannon with transport, 120,000 firearms, 18 million rounds of ammunition, 23,000 barrels of gunpowder, 30,000 swords and sabres, 150,000 uniforms, 175,000 pairs of boots, 1.5 million pounds of beef, biscuit and flour, and 28,000 gallons of rum and brandy.
Rum. Again, a lot of this stuff is coming from the Caribbean because my country, Barbados, which is still a British colony at this time, has the oldest rum distillery in the world, Mount Gay Rum. And it's still down there. In fact, Barbados has a reputation, and the Caribbean in general, of producing the best type of rum that you will never be able to find anywhere else in the world. So, cool fact.
The total value of British aid to the coalition in 1813 was £11.3 million. Today, worth around $500 million.
You know what did we, with $500 million? I was gonna say, and what did we get in return for that? Absolutely nothing. Well, that's not totally true. That's not totally true. Because a lot of people don't know this, but Britain does sometimes provide financial aid towards the English Caribbean, or should I say the Commonwealth Caribbean, or what used to be the British Caribbean that are now independent countries, most of which are still in personal union. Like, whenever Britain can, it does provide some financial aid, if depending on the country, frankly speaking, because some islands are much more poor than other islands. Like my country, Barbados, we're a high income country, so like 99% of the times we don't need aid. I think I heard the last time that we even got aid from Britain was like back in like the 2000s or something, so a long time ago. But yeah, a lot of British people don't know that their tax-paying dollars sometimes go to the English Caribbean / Commonwealth Caribbean. Kind of like how, you know, Ukraine gets aid from America with, you know, American tax-paying dollar. It's literally just like that, but like disaster relief, etc., blah blah blah. So yeah, I can't really say that Britain just completely just abandoned us after, you know, using the sugar white gold industry down there.
Napoleon, meanwhile, had turned Dresden into a major supply depot and strengthened his cavalry arm, though it remained a pale shadow of its glorious past. Johann returned to lead it, his secret approach to the Allies having been rebuffed. But
wait, what does he mean, secret approach, rebuff? What?
News arrived of King Joseph's disastrous defeat to Wellington's Anglo-Spanish-Portuguese army at the Battle of Vittoria. Napoleon had to send Marshal Soult, one of his best commanders, to salvage the situation.
Again, this should have never even been a problem. It's ridiculous. I'm not even going to talk about Spain. That's just so stupid, man.
On the 15th of August, Napoleon left Dresden and advanced against what he considered the most urgent threat: the joint Prussian-Russian army of Silesia, commanded by General Gebhard von Blücher, soon to win the nickname Marshal Vorwärts, Marshal Forwards, for his aggressive leadership.
Okay.
But Blücher followed the new plan and retreated when he learned of Napoleon's advance. Napoleon then received news from Marshal Saint-Cyr, holding Dresden with 20,000 men, that Schwarzenberg's gigantic army of Bohemia was approaching, and the city and its supplies were in danger.
Oh, that is such an evil tactic to use on Napoleon. Oh my god. Oh no, Napoleon. Yeah, I can see. I've heard of this, but to see in detail, yeah, I can see why this was a major problem.
Napoleon left Marshal MacDonald to keep an eye on Blücher and raced back to Dresden, sending Van Damme's First Corps to threaten Schwarzenberg's communications. By the time the Allied assault began, enough reinforcements had arrived to fight off the attack. The next day, despite being heavily outnumbered, Napoleon ordered a counterattack. Struggling through mud and heavy rain, Marshal Murat's advance, supported by Victor's Second Corps, broke the Allied left flank and took 13,000 prisoners.
Oh my gosh, Murat is still gold, bro. Oh my, this is why I love Murat. This is why Murat's my favorite marshal.
The Allies had suffered a disastrous defeat because they'd ignored their own rule. Don't take on Napoleon in battle.
Oh yeah.
But news soon arrived that turned the situation on its head. Marshal Oudinot had resumed his advance on Berlin with 66,000 men. But in 3 days of heavy combat around Grossbeeren, he was defeated by Bernadotte's Army of the North. Some of the most savage fighting was between Napoleon's Saxon allies and von Bülow's Prussians, two Germans
versus
states that for now remained on opposing sides.
So let me talk about this for a little bit, right? Because you know, I got into a bit of a debate with somebody. I think I made an announcement about this, about how English people are Germans, and they completely misunderstood what I said. When I say that English people are Germans, I'm not saying that they're Germans, like, nationally speaking. Like, I'm saying they're Germans, racially speaking. Like, there are many Germans who are Germans, but they didn't really feel a national, you know, they didn't really have that national thing in them. It was not until Napoleon, right, that whole nationalism started to, you know, spread. But before, you know, a lot of these Germans had their own German states, and a lot of their dialects were arguably their own languages. But I don't know, I'm just gonna say a little bit of that here, because, you know, if you ever hear me say that English people are Germans, that's what I mean. Because, well, they are. Like, sure, they have their own nationality. Many German states did, you know. So, yeah.
3 days later, at the Katzbach River, Blücher inflicted a crushing defeat on Marshal MacDonald, driving some French troops into the river itself.
What?
MacDonald lost 30,000 men, 3 eagles and 100 guns, for Blücher's 22,000 casualties. 3 days after Napoleon's victory at Dresden, as Van Damme's corps pursued the Allies, it became trapped in wooded valleys around Kulm and was over.
Oh my gosh. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
General Van Damme himself was dragged from his horse by Cossacks, as he and 10,000 of his men were made prisoner.
Violation.
Sent Ney to take over from Oudinot, who engaged Bülow's Prussian corps at Dennewitz. The Prussians, fighting to save Berlin, held their own until Russian and Swedish reinforcements arrived to turn the battle decisively in the Allies' favor.
Oh my gosh.
Ney's retreat became a rout, with the loss of another 22,000 men. Napoleon's brilliant victory at Dresden had been completely overturned in just 10 days.
I'm flabbergasted right now, bro. Complete 180 in barely more than a week.
The Allied plan was working. Napoleon became increasingly frustrated as Allied armies withdrew wherever he advanced, and advanced wherever he was not. His teenage conscripts were exhausted by constant marching, and famished as Saxony had been stripped bare of supplies. Thousands fell sick, thousands more deserted. Russian and Prussian light troops were now operating behind Napoleon's army, harassing his communications with France. Many of Napoleon's marshals advised him to pull back to the River Rhine. But Napoleon wasn't giving up Germany without a fight.
There will inevitably be a great battle at Leipzig. Oh, how right you were, Napoleon.
By October 1813, Napoleon faced 1/3 Allied troops in Germany, converging on him from 3 directions. 900 miles away, Field Marshal Wellington was crossing the Bidassoa River into France, the first enemy army on French soil in nearly 20 years. While the Kingdom of Bavaria, a French ally since the days of Austerlitz, had secretly agreed to switch sides and would declare war on France on the 14th of October.
Of course.
Napoleon planned to defend the line of the River Elbe. But the arrival of General Bennigsen's reserve Russian army freed up Blücher, who suddenly marched to join forces with Bernadotte and forced his way across the Elbe at Wartenberg. Napoleon went north with 150,000 men, seeking the decisive battle that would change his fortunes. But once more, Blücher narrowly escaped him. Then came news from Murat, who'd been left with 67,000 men to cover Schwarzenberg. The enemy had bypassed Dresden and was heading for Leipzig. If the city fell, Napoleon would be cut off from France. Once more, he was advised to fall back to the Rhine. But instead, Napoleon ordered all his forces to concentrate at Leipzig. He would risk everything in one great battle to decide the fate of his empire and the fate of Europe.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Look forward to reacting to this. Ooh, thank you for watching the video. Make sure you subscribe if you are new to the channel. Okay, make sure to like the video so that the YouTube algorithm could see that I am still, that you people do like my content, so YouTube, recommends my videos more, push my videos more out to the algorithm. I gotta go on work after this, so I'm just gonna make this outro quick, easy. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.